Well, I do want to get on to this workshop that you're going to be doing here soon, Jewel. I am really looking forward to this. I think you called it. So it's starting October 1st, 2024. And if you're seeing this afterwards, it's okay. Go ahead and go to the link that we'll tell you about in a minute because there may be some ways that you can get a hold of that through Jewel. But I think you're calling it the art of content, how to craft compelling content. Is that the right title?
Yes.
I love that, the art of content. Because there really is, there's science and an art to coaching, there's a science and an art to crafting this content. So, what do you want to tell us about this upcoming workshop, Jewel?
So let's get the bare logistics out of the way first. It's going to be 3 days, 90 minutes each day. And what I find is most challenging for just people in general, not just coaches, but especially coaches, is an inability to articulate any clarity of thought around any topic, really. So, just like how you and I were talking before we started hitting record on this session, and you and I were talking about how emotions have recipes. So, we have heard all our lives, or I think most of us have heard many times in our life, that the words you use shape your reality. But what does that actually mean? And unfortunately, there are many concepts like that that kind of fly over our heads where it sounds good. It's what I call sounds good, but doesn't withstand the true test if you look at it under a microscope and you start to dissect pieces.
Sounds kind of out there somewhere.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
yeah.
it's what I call fluffy.
Mhm.
Sounds good, feels good, but I don't know how to actually apply this to my life. So something that I was so excited about is watching Brene Brown's special, Atlas of the Heart, I think is what it's called. And on episode 2, she talks about how she recently came across some other emotions researchers' research. I think her name is Kristen Lindquist, if I'm not mistaken. So then I fall down the rabbit hole and I go look up Dr. I think she's Dr. Kristen Lindquist's research, and I read the paper on this. So, what is meant by emotions have a recipe? It's that when you experience a feeling in your body for the first time, think of it like a hunk of clay. If you're in the generation like with me and Nikki, you may have seen what's that movie with Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore? You know, where she's doing pottery and he's behind her.
Oh, gosh. I don't know.
Yeah, oh my gosh. He's a ghost, right? Like that's the movie. I can't remember what
I
it's
think
called.
so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have no idea, Jewel.
I
I'm
know.
terrible with movie names. I don't
I know
know.
we're gonna have to have somebody comment it in after.
Yeah, there you go.
It's been one of those days. Like it took me forever to remember. It's a magnifying glass. What I was trying to say earlier.
Oh,
So,
well, you said lens. That makes sense. Yeah.
mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So just imagine yourself with a raw hunk of clay on the pottery wheel. That's the beginning of your emotion. Now, what happens is what shape that clay takes comes from your language, the words you use to describe that thing in front of you. That determines the shape. So when I think now back to the phrase of your words shape your reality, this is, I think, what that means. But when we're talking about emotions have a recipe, now it's so much more tangible. Okay, so it's up to you if you want to turn this hunk of clay into some beautiful vase or you want to turn it into something that looks like a car ran over it. It's totally up to you. And I'm not saying that like with judgment. I'm just saying whatever shape it takes is up to you. And the shape it takes comes through the function of your words. So if you don't like how you're feeling and the emotions you're feeling, the easiest step is to take and change your words of how you're describing the situation. So, one of the most common things I hear people saying all the time these days is, I'm overwhelmed, I'm stressed. You have to stop and think, ask yourself, is that how you're actually feeling? And so, this is part two is the words you choose are extremely important because you can inadvertently shift your emotion from one to another. Hence, the hunk of clay sitting in front of you can change the shape. So maybe you intended this shape to be something else and suddenly it morphs because of the words you chose. Now, think about how I just described that to you. There's a huge difference from someone saying at a very 20 or 30,000 foot level, words shape your reality. You need to talk to yourself better and, have more positive self talk. Contrast that, which is typically what's floating out there in the online space, versus what I just said. Which thing are you more likely to remember? That's
Oh,
what I'm
what
going
you
to teach you.
said. Yeah, with this clay. Yeah, and so that's what you're teaching at the workshop. You're going to help us really make it tangible is what I'm kind of gathering here.
Yeah. Very specific, very tangible if possible, and to bring it down to earth where normal people can understand these things. So that's what I mean by most of us out there are suffering from very vague, fluffy language, stuff nobody understands, and therefore we don't relate or connect to that. And that's going to be very hard to do if you don't even know what you think about any given topic out there. So, part of this process is to one, get specific. The second part of this process is to even identify what you think about anything. And then the third part is to drill down and really get to one little nugget that you can then highlight as the centerpiece of your content.
Beautiful. I'm excited. I'm so excited. So, what we are going to be doing is we are, Jewel has graciously offered to do this in conjunction with Coaches in Cahoots. So, the first day of the workshop, October 1st, will be open to everyone as a guest of Coaches in Cahoots. So we're going to have information on this at, I'm just going to give, the link isn't active yet, Jewel, but it will be by the time this airs. So it's coachesincahoots.com/compelling content. So coachesincahoots.com/compelling content. No spaces, no dashes, no nothing. And I just realized how many C's there are in that. But oh well. Um, and you'll be able to find out more about the workshop and how you can join us that day. Just as a guest, no cost to you to come and check out Coaches in Cahoots, check out Jewel, and take part in the first day of her workshop.